Imagine opening your bank statement. Whether it's yours or like a business's or even a friend's, you kind of expect a baseline of, well, survival logic.
Right, like the mortgage is paid, the groceries are bought.
Exactly. You expect the electricity is kept on. It's, foundational.
Yeah, absolutely.
But imagine opening that statement and seeing the electricity has been shut off, the roof is actively leaking, the fridge is just completely empty.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare.
It is, and yet right next to those unpaid bills, there are these massive recurring charges for like yacht rentals, luxury vacations, country club memberships.
That paints a pretty wild picture.
Right. Suddenly that financial document is telling a very different story, and today we're opening up a document that tells that exact story, but on a $432 million scale.
Which is just a staggering number to try and wrap your head around.
It really is. Welcome to today's deep dive, dated Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. We are unpacking a highly critical, incredibly detailed document called the 2027 Bibb County Budget Analysis.
And we're looking at a proposed combined budget of $432.3 million for fiscal year 2027.
But before we go a single step further, I really need to make something crystal clear to you, our listener.
Yes, very important point here.
This deep dive is completely impartial. We are not endorsing the views in this document.
Not at all.
And we are absolutely not taking sides on local politics. Our job today is strictly to act as your guides.
We're just here to help you understand the specific arguments, the mathematical breakdowns and the financial warnings that the authors of this analysis laid out.
Right. We are looking strictly at the mechanics of the argument they're making. Not the political ramifications, not the local figures involved, just the numbers.
And what's fascinating here is how this specific analysis actually serves as a masterclass in how to read a municipal budget.
How so?
Well, it teaches us how peeling back the layers of a financial document reveals a government's true priorities, which, can sometimes be radically different from their public statements.
So it's about following the actual dollars, not the rhetoric. Exactly.
So the core thesis of this document, the hook that grabs you right on page 1, is something the authors call a priority inversion.
Priority inversion.
Yeah. Basically, according to the source, the local government is taking massive amounts of capital and shifting it toward a corporate-style focus.
We're talking entertainment, tourism, shiny new development districts.
Right. And by doing this, the authors argue that foundational, everyday public services are being severely neglected.
It's a huge claim.
It is. And to really grasp this claim of a priority inversion, we have to look at the raw financial disparity the authors present. They basically split the budget into two worlds.
The shiny new projects versus the literal ground citizens walk on.
Exactly. So the analysis groups a series of allocations together into what they call the expansion and tourism allocation.
Yeah.
And the total is an astonishing $142.7 million.
And breaking down where that $142.7 million comes from reveals the mechanics of modern municipal funding. It's not just like a single giant slush fund.
Right. It's pieced together. Yeah. The document identifies $62.5 million coming from the 2018 SB-All funds alone.
Wait, SB-All?
Yeah, CFEAL. It stands for Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax.
Oh, okay.
And it's crucial to understand how this works because a CLOST is consumption tax. It's often a regressive mechanism.
Meaning it places a heavier financial burden on everyday citizens buying basic goods, right?
Precisely. And the authors are pointing out that this citizen-funded tax is being channeled heavily into these luxury or tourist-focused developments.
Wow. And the document also outlines another $44 million from the 2025 SPOST, plus $8 million for recreation.
Right.
And then there's $6.3 million from the Hotel and Motel Tax Fund and various other allocations for business improvement districts or BIDs, the Coliseum, and even over $1.6 million just for a golf course.
Those business improvement districts or BIDs are another fascinating mechanism here.
How do they work?
Well, BIDs allow businesses in a specific commercial area to basically pay an extra premium to get enhanced city services.
Like what? Better landscaping?
Yeah, better landscaping, more security, cleaner streets. And the authors suggest this creates a parallel two-tiered system of city maintenance.
Oh, I see. Where affluent commercial districts get pristine treatment, while peripheral residential neighborhoods are just left to decay.
Exactly. So you have this $142.7 million mountain of capital dedicated to making the county a destination.
Entertainment, tourism, hospitality.
Right.
And then the authors ask us to look at the core infrastructure ledger. This is the money strictly dedicated to foundational county preservation.
The stuff you actually rely on every single day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the total for that core infrastructure ledger is a mere $5.3 million.
It's a huge drop-off.
And it gets even tighter when you look closer. Because of that $5.3 million, about $3.2 million is just the debt service fund.
So they're just paying off the interest on past projects.
Right. The engineering department, the actual people handling all the roads, the drainage, and the bridges for the entire county, is proposed to get just $2.1 million.
And when you do the math on those two ledgers, the disparity becomes the crux of their entire analysis.
Let's hear it.
The non-core spending, that $142.7 million, is 26.8 times greater than the foundational infrastructure spending.
A 26.8x multiplier. I mean, this brings us back to that bank statement metaphor.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because this feels like taking out a massive second mortgage to build a luxury resort-style pool with a waterfall in your backyard.
While completely ignoring that your roof is caving in.
Exactly, and your basement floods every time it rains.
The document grounds that exact visual in what it calls the citizen reality check.
Right.
While that $142 million is deployed for destination-style layouts, local neighborhoods are experiencing severe systemic decay right now.
What kind of decay?
The authors list out what citizens are actually confronting. Arbitrary bus route cuts, expanding pothole clusters, chronic stormwater backlogs, and flooding issues caused directly by a starved maintenance budget.
Okay, but wait, let me push back on this framework for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Couldn't an advocate for this budget argue that these entertainment districts and tourism investments are, well, exactly that, investments?
Like they'll pay off eventually.
Yeah. Standard economic development theory says you build attractions to generate revenue, attract outside businesses, and bring in the tax dollars needed to eventually fix the roof and pump out the basement later. You know, you have to spend money to make money.
It's a fair point. But the analysis directly anticipates that counter-argument by pointing to the concept of opportunity costs and the strict timeline of infrastructure failure.
Okay, explain that.
The flooding, the blight, and the infrastructure failures are happening right now, today.
Right.
The authors argue that banking on hypothetical future tourism revenue while allowing immediate systemic decay to ravage local neighborhoods is a catastrophic risk.
Because you can't just pause decay.
Exactly. You cannot put a neighborhood's drainage system on pause while you wait 5 years for a golf course or an amphitheater to turn a profit.
That makes sense. But your point about banking on future revenue assumes these projects actually become cash cows.
Right, which isn't guaranteed.
If they don't, we hit the second danger the authors highlight, the long-term trap.
The long-term trap.
Yeah, what happens on day 1,000 when the tourist hype dies down, after the ribbon-cutting ceremonies are over?
This introduces the concept of structural deficits. You see, a ribbon-cutting ceremony represents a capital expenditure. It's a one-time cost to build the thing.
Right.
But taxpayers are legally on the hook for the operational expenditures for decades. We are talking about the daily operating costs, the debt servicing, and the continuous maintenance required long after the cameras leave.
And the warning here is that if the revenue from these luxury projects slows down, or if they just aren't as popular as projected, the local government doesn't just let them close.
No, they can't.
Instead, they cannibalize general fund money to keep them alive. And the analysis points to a specific line item to prove this. $8.7 million in transfers to other funds. Yeah, the source claims this mechanism frequently serves to artificially prop up operations elsewhere when specific hospitality or expansion projects fail to be self-sustaining.
So instead of that $8.7 million fixing the pothole clusters or the stormwater backlogs we discussed,
Yeah.
it's being used to pay the electric bill and sweep the floors of an underperforming entertainment venue.
That is wild. And the document also highlights the airport fund, which sits at $10.2 million.
Right, which is another massive ongoing commitment.
And here's where it gets really interesting to me. They are explicitly criticizing the county for taking federal airport grants.
Yeah, which usually sounds crazy, right?
Totally. Usually cities love federal money. It's framed as, free cash that local taxpayers don't have to raise themselves. Why is the analysis flagging this as a problem?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, The free money illusion is one of the most dangerous traps in municipal budgeting.
How?
Because the analysis explains that accepting these federal aviation grants triggers really strict multi-decade compliance and maintenance mandates.
Oh, strings attached.
Huge strings attached. Taking the federal grant to upgrade or expand the airport legally forces the county to provide ongoing public financial support.
To maintain the facility.
Yes, to maintain it to federal standards for decades. And this obligation exists regardless of whether the airport itself generates enough profit to cover those costs.
So it's not really free.
Not at all. It becomes a mandatory drain on local resources, essentially an unbreakable contract.
Wow. So you build these massive projects, you get locked into federal maintenance contracts, and you expose the general fund to structural deficits to prop up failing entertainment districts.
Takes domino effect.
Right. So if the general funds might eventually be sucked dry by all this, how are the universally agreed upon essentials like the police and fire departments actually faring right now?
Well, at first glance, the top-line numbers look huge.
Yeah, I saw that. The sheriff's budget is listed at $60.1 million.
Right, and the fire department is at $34.4 million.
Which sounds great. I mean, if I'm a voter looking at a flyer, I see those numbers and I think the sheriff's department is flush with cash.
Exactly, you'd assume they are thriving. But the analysis digs beneath those impressive headlines and reveals what they term a strategic disconnect.
A strategic disconnect.
Yeah, those massive funds are almost entirely consumed by structural overhead.
Let's look at the breakdown for that, actually. Out of that $60.1 million for the sheriff, salaries and benefits consume $38.1 million.
Right off the top.
Yeah. And then operating costs take another $18.5 million.
Leaving almost nothing.
Exactly. So what does this all mean? You see $60 million in the headlines and think they have capital for cutting-edge community programs or new technology, but in reality, they're just barely keeping the lights on.
They're trapped in maintenance mode.
Yeah.
And we need to look at the mechanisms driving that structural overhead.
What's driving it?
Across modern law enforcement and municipal budgeting, legacy pension liabilities are compounding rapidly.
Pensions, yeah.
Furthermore, when a department is understaffed, they are forced to rely on mandatory overtime at time and a half just to cover basic shifts.
That gets expensive fast.
Incredibly expensive. Add in the compounding inflation on fuel for the cruisers and rising insurance premiums, and the budget is entirely eaten up just keeping the engine running.
And the authors state this leaves zero capital for actual systemic reforms. They specifically mention dangerous jail vulnerabilities.
Right. That was a key point.
Yeah, noting there is no money left over to build a much-needed, modern, safe jail facility.
And this illustrates the danger of a budget designed purely to sustain the status quo. It starves innovation.
Because all the money is just going to overhead.
Exactly. When a public safety budget is entirely consumed by overhead and costly overtime band-aids, the department isn't actually improving safety or upgrading its capabilities.
They're just surviving.
Right. It's simply managing decline.
Okay, so if public safety is starved for actual reform capital and the engineering department only gets $2.1 million, where is the day-to-day operating money hiding?
The document points its finger directly at the back office. It outlines a severe case of administrative bloat.
Let's get into the numbers here, because the analysis highlights several administrative budgets that are unusually high, especially when contrasted with the physical decay of the county.
Right, like facilities management.
Exactly. Facilities management sits at $13.1 million total, with nearly 75.6% of that dedicated solely to operating costs.
Which is deeply ironic, if you think about it.
Spending almost $10 million just to operate the internal facilities department while the actual public infrastructure is decaying.
It's wild.
And then you have the county attorney's budget at $4.3 million, with over 81% going to operating expenses.
But the most shocking disparity the document provides is information technology.
IT, yes. The IT budget is $9.1 million total, and the operating costs alone for IT sit at $6.26 million.
The authors actually frame this as the ultimate priority contrast. It really highlights a profound capital misallocation.
I mean, the operating costs for IT, just the operating costs at $6.26 million, are nearly 3 times greater than the entire engineering department budget.
Think about that.
The department meant to fix the whole county's infrastructure and flood mitigation gets $2.1 million. The IT department gets 3 times that just to run its software.
It's a stark comparison.
It's like a bakery spending 3 times more on their accounting software than they do on actual flour and sugar.
That is a perfect way to put it.
But realistically, let me play devil's advocate here. Doesn't a modern government need massive IT infrastructure to function?
Sure, yes.
I mean, we're in a digital age. Cybersecurity threats to municipalities are real, cloud servers are expensive, and digitizing records is a mandate, not a luxury.
IT is absolutely critical, yes, and the analysis does not suggest a modern government should run on pen and paper.
Right.
But this raises an important question about proportionality.
Proportionality.
Exactly. When your administrative overhead, the digital systems, the lawyers, the internal facilities management eclipses the funding for the actual physical environment citizens live in, it reflects a profound disconnect from the taxpayer's daily reality.
Because the taxpayer lives in the physical world.
Right. If a taxpayer's daily reality consists of blowing out a tire in a pothole or having their street flood during a mild rainstorm, they do not care how streamlined the county's internal server network is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The physical environment is being eclipsed by back-office digital overhead.
It's the roof and the pool analogy again. You have a state-of-the-art smart home security system installed, but the actual floorboards of the house are rotting away beneath your feet.
Exactly.
So the authors of this analysis paint a highly critical picture. We've seen the 26.8x priority inversion, the long-term traps of federal grants, the illusion of safety funding, and this heavy administrative bloat.
It's a lot of red flags.
But the document doesn't just list grievances, right? They actually offer a highly specific emergency brake.
Yes. Instead of just pointing out the impending doom, they provide a prescriptive action. And they base this on what they identify as the ultimate fear for the county.
Which is insolvency.
Insolvency.
Yeah.
Decades from now, taxpayers will be covering massive deficits for luxury venues, while core services fight for whatever scraps are left.
Right. And to prevent that nightmare scenario, the authors propose an immediate cap and freeze on all debt-driven capital expansion and commercial development.
Basically, they want to stop the train.
Stop the train. And the specific math of their fix involves legally reallocating a minimum of 15% of non-core funds.
And just to clarify, this is the money currently tied up in those recreational luxury projects and discretionary fund transfers we analyzed earlier.
Right, so they propose pulling 15% of that and putting it directly into an emergency restricted core infrastructure and public safety capital fund.
The elegance of this proposal, from a policy standpoint, is its efficiency.
How so?
Well, establishing a legally restricted fund ensures that future administrations cannot raid that money for pet projects later on.
Ah, that's smart.
Right. By simply shifting 15% of the luxury budget, the county provides the immediate liquid capital needed to reinforce those crumbling drainage networks, repair the roadways, and begin developing that modern jail facility.
And the major appeal of this structural pivot is that it fixes these dangerous vulnerabilities without raising taxes.
Exactly.
It addresses the deficiencies without asking an already strained constituency for another dime.
Which is a huge selling point.
It really is. So, to briefly recap the journey we've been on today for you, the listener, we started by looking at a proposed $432 million budget through the lens of a priority inversion.
Right.
We broke down how a 26.8x multiplier prioritizes tourism over basic infrastructure. We explored the long-term traps of federal grants and structural deficits.
We looked past the massive headlines of public safety to understand the reality of structural overhead.
Yeah, and we uncovered the administrative bloat where IT operating costs dwarf the entire engineering budget. And finally, we examined this proposed 15% structural pivot to save the county.
It is a dense amount of financial mechanics to process, for sure.
Definitely.
But the ultimate takeaway from this analysis is really a new lens for viewing your own local landscape.
What should people be looking for?
Well, next time you see a massive new amphitheater or a shiny new stadium being built in your own city, ask yourself, are the revenues from this actually going to fix the potholes in my neighborhood? Or did my local government just legally commit me to paying the electric bill for a luxury venue for the next 30 years?
Wow, that is the exact question we all need to be asking. As we saw today, sometimes the most terrifying things in a financial document aren't the empty accounts, but the luxury charges you are locked into while the roof caves in.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics behind the numbers. Keep questioning the ledgers, and as always, stay curious.